Hello and welcome back to Let Me Tell You a podcast with Jeremy Jacobowitz. I am your host, Jeremy Jacobowitz, and today we have a great episode. First of all, I'm responding to one of the most frequently asked questions I get on all of my videos. Why don't you mention the menu prices? We'll get into that. Plus, all the restaurant news, including a new Korean tasting menu that looks amazing, what I've been up to, and then what I'm into this week, where I'll be talking about my reaction to season 2 of English Teacher, one of my favorite shows on TV. So, before we get into all that, though, don't forget jeremyjshop.com. You can get amazing merch. Don't let me tell you why merch. Exiled Sando merch, the brand new Never Toast a Fresh Bagel merch. And for you guys exclusively, you get 12% off if you use the code OCT25. That's OCT25. Plus 70 now, if your order is over $75, you get free shipping. Pretty sweet deal. Lots of stuff there. It's gonna be fall. You got lots of sweatshirts. You got lots of coffee mugs. You got beanies, normal hats, whatever you guys want. And if there's something you don't see, just let me know and I'll add it to the shop. If there's a color that you guys don't see, I will be able to add it to the shop. So just let me know. Appreciate the feedback there. Plus, of course, thank you guys. As a reminder, subscribe, follow, leave a comment, leave a 5-star review if you're on Apple Podcasts there, Spotify. I appreciate all this. The podcast is a passion project. It is a love letter between both of us, and I really appreciate it. But more people watching and listening would be great too. So let people know, share this podcast, put on stories, let everyone know. You got to go listen to Let Me Tell You a podcast with Jeremy Jacobowitz. So this past week, I was in Atlantic City for the first time. I went there. I was working with the tourism board. I might do a full podcast about like all of it, and all the videos are coming soon. But like really great food, like really great food, and I loved it. I found it like really interesting to go there during like off-peak season. Like certainly summer is probably a very different vibe in Atlantic City, but to go there and see like more of like the real city, because it's not just full of tourists, but full of the people that live there, I thought was fascinating. I talked a little bit about this on stories too. I think that like, I travel so much solo and I really love it. And one of the reasons I really love it is that it forces me to interact with people. So if I'm there with someone else, like maybe I'm not chit-chatting as much of strangers. And especially at all these restaurants, especially when I'm eating alone, especially when I'm filming, people love coming to talk to me. And from restaurant owners to patrons to chefs to whoever it was I was chit-chatting with, it really helped me get a great sense of like what Atlantic City is. It's good and it's bad and everything in between. And I really, really, really appreciate that. And like I said, I'm thinking about a way to really be able to capture this and share this more than just describing to you what I went through. So stay tuned for that, but stay tuned, especially for the food videos, because some absolute gems in Atlantic City. It was like a 2-hour drive from New York City. Super, super easy. So I had a great time. And then this past weekend, it was the New York City Wine and Food Festival. I've been going to this event for, I think like 15 years, which is crazy. It's always one of my favorite weekends of the whole year. I missed most of it this year because of my trip to Atlantic City, unfortunately. Just timing, I can only do so much. But went to the Grand Tasting After Dark hosted by Bobby Flay this past Saturday night. That was a blast. And then like an after party that was awesome. Like, not to sound like a fucking douchebag, but like a lot of after parties to go to suck. To be honest, it seems way cooler than it is, to be honest, half the time. This one actually was really cool. Alexa, What's for Dinner, who's been on the podcast before. She was with me. She got a real tattoo. They were giving out real tattoos. You had to pick from a selection. She legit got a tattoo. All the free food, all the free drinks, all the free whatever. Really, really, really fun time. I can't wait for Miami. It's the same festival, New York, and then Miami, the one I go to in every February. And the Miami one is especially my favorite. Definitely my favorite. So I'm looking forward to that. But another great weekend with New York wine and food. Okay, but now let's get to some restaurant news. First up, one of my favorite restaurant groups of spots like Mari and Gui Steakhouse has a brand new high-end Korean tasting menu restaurant, Hwaro. I can't believe I did this to myself again. Hwaro. Tell me how to say that. It is a 13-course tasting menu for $295 that celebrates not only Korea, but other East Asian influences as well. On the menu, you can find fish, foie gras of duck, pastrami, a mushroom pie of truffles, and 85 Wagyu, and more. This menu looks truly, truly, truly special. I think we'll be hearing a lot about this restaurant in the future. Oh, Jesus, another name I can't say. Nuarez, N-U-Y-O-R-E-S, is the new Peruvian restaurant in the West Village that wants to celebrate South American flavor of New York City soul. Standouts on the menu include ceviche, adobo lamb ribs, hell yeah, and a crispy huancaina, cacio pepe. Interesting. K, that's K-E-I, I got to spell out everything, is part Japanese izakaya, part ramen shop, part speakeasy in Chelsea, and they have a newly launched winter menu. You could find Wagyu ramen with American Wagyu strip loin, a tantan ramen made of chicken, a smoky Wagyu garlic rice bowl, oh god, I'd eat that, grilled ribeye, and a grilled ikeyaki squid. Saloon in Bed-Stuy is expanding next door and opening their brand new all-day cafe with French-inspired bites, pastries, and lattes. Standouts on the menu include a matcha cha made with red berries and pistachio milk. Fun fact, use pistachio milk in my coffee every single day. I love it. I use Tache. I get their unsweetened vanilla. It's just the perfect amount of fat, just the perfect amount of flavor, and like not overwhelming at all. And I try not to eat as much milk for health and environmental reasons, and I found that pistachio milk is my favorite. They have a salmon quiche truffle croque monsieur made with challah, goddamn, and a cookie croissant. This menu looks great. And finally, Ops's East Village location is launching a new collab series of some of the best restaurants in New York City. Here's a rundown of all the pizzas that you're going to be able to get. From October 22nd to 24th, they've teamed with Rosella for an XO sauce with tomato, ricotta, clams, and breadcrumbs. From October 28th to 30, they've teamed with Yellow Rose, and that one is a pizza with house-made chorizo, Oaxacan cheese, cotija cheese, and jalapenos. Goddamn. November 4th to 6th, Winsome Bakery's pizza is a braised pork, basil, cilantro, chili, 5-spice bechamel. Holy shit. And they have a special calzone also, which is going to be shrimp, vermicelli, chives, Havarti, and firewood soy paste. From November 11th to 13th, Haz Dak Biet, I definitely said that wrong. Their pizza is mozzarella, lobster, Chinese sausage, scallion oil, Maggi black pepper, and chilies. From November 18th to 20th, Whole Foods has a pizza with cabbage, fried prawns, fried shallots, white pepper, and mozz. And finally, from December 2nd to 4th, Carnitas Ramirez, they're going to make a tavern-style pizza of mozzarella, carnitas, pickled onions, and pineapple. Goddamn, all these sound so freaking good. All right, and let's talk about what you may have missed, content that I've posted in the past week, and maybe missed it, because I know not everyone sees everything. First of all, the most hyped New York City fall restaurant opening. Jose Andre, we talked about this on the podcast, I think last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, or definitely 2 weeks ago, but maybe whatever, doesn't matter. Jose Andres has a brand new steakhouse in Mercado Little Spain called Chula. I went there and Chula? Yeah, Chula. Oh my God. And it's really good. The space is a little weird because you're like kind of tucked into a corner of the market, which used to be the space that was Lena. But the food was great. And especially for me, I talk about this in the video, like, I don't love steakhouses because I don't really love steak necessarily. So the fact that they had like a Birko ham and lamb options as your main proteins made me feel very, very, very good. So it was a great meal. Check that out. I reposted this video from Augie's Counter about their tuna melt. They put up a video last week just kind of talking about the struggles of having a restaurant and the fear that they might have to close. So I reposted that just as a hey, let's support them. One of the best restaurants in the city. I really have to go back there to try more, honestly, but the tuna melt, it's unbelievable. And we did a whole podcast about like, why does a restaurant close in New York City? So I highly recommend you check that out if you want to find more, but it's what all these restaurants are going through. It's just, especially in New York City, especially in a world with all the tariffs, especially as the economy is not doing as well, it's a struggle. It's really hard, especially when tourism is down in New York City. It's harder and harder and harder and harder. And anything you can do to support a great neighborhood gem like Augie's Counter is highly appreciated. And then the latest What Is Your Bagel Order episode went up with Shannon Ferry from Spectrum News 1. I mean, all these episodes are really fun. I'm having a blast doing them. I have some really big guests coming up too. So check all those videos out. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, Facebook, Threads, Lemonade, anywhere I can post these videos, they are there. Check them all out. And of course, on Substack, we have 2 brand new guides that went up in the past 2 weeks. I think I talked about this one last time, but just in case you missed it, New York City second date guide. You guys love my first date guide, so I wrote a second date guide for your perfect spot to bring your date on a second date. And then the Indianapolis food guide went up. This one is free for all you guys. I might do a full episode about this, but I talked about this before, but I spent a few days in Indianapolis. I found some absolute gems that were so goddamn good. And that guide is written out with all the restaurants, all the places I ate, all the places I drank, the hotel I stayed at, sort of like general tips for Indianapolis as well. Highly recommend that. The YouTube video that went up alongside that, doing really well. The travel stuff does really well. I love when it's, I hate, I don't want to like degrade these cities, but I think more like the random cities or second tier cities. Those videos are really well on YouTube. It's really interesting, and I really love to see that. I love that you guys are excited by that. But okay, let's talk about the main topic this week, which is like why I don't talk about the prices of food on the menus. And I'll put a little asterisk there, and we'll talk about why I do sometimes talk about the prices, but in general, why I don't. And it's feedback that I get a lot. And I don't think people are wrong to ask necessarily. Like, I understand that like they want to have a jumping off point of like, can I even go to this restaurant at all? But my theory on when I talk about price and when I don't is if it's part of the story. So if I go to a restaurant and the story is, holy shit, this burger is $2.50. That's part of the story because it's like so cheap. It's like I found the cheapest, best burger in New York City. Well, of course, I have to talk about the price, $2.50. On the other end of the spectrum, it's I found the most expensive burger in New York City. It's $250. That has to be part of the story as well. And that's why I'm there. And that's why it's worth including. I find that, though, for the most part, when prices are sort of somewhere in between, which is probably going to be like 99% of my videos, I ignore it. And the main reason I ignore it is not to be deceitful and not to hide anything from you guys or whatever, because really the answer is like, go, if you're dying to know how much it is, Google it. By the time you type out the comment, why didn't you tell me what the prices were? You could have just Googled it and figured out what the prices were. But I don't, because I don't think it spurs on healthy and good conversations in the comment section. What's a good example? I mean, even something like this. I did a video on Paulina, which was the pita shop that opened in Williamsburg a few months ago. And the pitas, they only make falafel pitas and they're so fucking good. I don't even think I mentioned the price, but I happened to shoot the sign on the window that said the price. And the price of the pita was $14. And it spurs on negative comments. It spurs on people being, fuck that restaurant. I don't understand it. How could they charge so much? This is so fucking stupid. I remember going to Mamoon's Falafel in 1989 and it was 85 cents. How is this shop? Blah, 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 blah. And to me, not that $14 is maybe on the higher end for a falafel pita in New York City, but it's not an expensive dish and it's not a cheap dish. It's just sort of somewhere between. And your perspective on how expensive that dish is truly just based off of probably where you live and I mean, yeah, what your income level is too, but more of like where you live. Because the math isn't just, well, how much is a falafel and that's how much the pita should be. That's just not how restaurants work. That's not how menu pricing works. You have to take into account so many different things. So it's like, one, they're in Williamsburg. Their costs are just going to be higher. Their rent is higher, especially as a newer restaurant. They need to stand out against more of the classic stuff that's also in Williamsburg that has a lower rent cost, probably because they're not older, because they're not new. So they might, spend more on better ingredients. Maybe they want to pay their employees more. Maybe their insurance is more. Maybe the electricity is more. Maybe their whatever is more because they're a new restaurant. And not maybe, definitely. And if you don't live here, you might not understand that. So of course you think it's expensive, but you're only judging off of one singular thing. And I don't think it's fair to the restaurant when I'm making a video about it, because living here, I'm like, okay, $14, like it's again, like maybe it's a little higher, but it's also for lunch for $14. Dude, great. I'd spend that every single day. I do spend that every single day. I spend more than every single day. Just getting anything, I spend that much money in Williamsburg, because that's just kind of how it is. So you have to compare it that way. And it's not fair to the restaurant to have that conversation. I also think you get this thing of like, even expanding upon that, and we'll talk about travel stuff too, and where it gets even more tricky. So it's like, okay, I go to Japan, I make these videos, and people want to know how much is that thing? How much was that whatever you ate? And again, it's really hard to include prices because one, the conversion doesn't always make sense, because because while that price in Japan that yen price might not change in years and years and years, although now for the first time in like 30 years there have some inflation. The price versus the American dollar changes significantly. Even since I was there in the spring, prices have changed significantly because we're comparing the American price to the yen price. So it's a hard thing for me to do, because I could be like, well, when I bought it, it was 100 yen, which was like $70. That's not how it is, but I'm just saying to make the math work. But now I'm making the video 4 months later, it's $60. But now when I'm actually, when you're watching the video, which is 4 months after that, it's $50. So the prices don't make any sense. So again, I have to go back to the thing of like, I need it. If it's not part of the story, I don't want it in there, because it's truly not helpful. It's not helpful to even the viewer, and it's not helpful to the comment section. And I think that's it too. Everyone's value of something is different. I read the headline, so I didn't read the article, so don't whatever. But there was a thing basically being like, Kim Kardashian, like, I don't know, doesn't know how much milk costs. Of course she doesn't. She's a billionaire. She doesn't know how much milk costs because she doesn't think about it. And I know this is like an extreme example, but like there's always a level to, like, no matter how much money you make, there's always a price which is dependent on how much money you make. That is the factor of, is this expensive or not? And can I just pay for this without even thinking about it? And every single person's level is different. So that $14 falafel, I am 1,000,000,000% sure there are lots of people where that is too expensive for them. And that's totally fair. But there's also a gigantic portion of people where that's like, sort of like me, where I'm like, well, I pay $14 for lunch every single day. So $14, I didn't even think about it. And that's just sort of like, that's just sort of how the world is. And I don't want the fight on every video to be, this is expensive, this isn't expensive. This is this. I also find that, like, in my world where this is my job, not only my job, but in my world where I live in New York City and I'm in my 30s, my entertainment, my everything I spend money on is food and alcohol. So the value of what I'm getting isn't just, oh, what's the value of the falafel? The value of what I'm getting is, ooh, this is my enjoyment. This is what I'm sharing with my friends. This is where I'm going. So I feel okay spending more money on food and restaurants than other people. Other people have different priorities. Maybe you have a kid. Maybe you like collecting Pokemon. Maybe you like doing whatever. Maybe you like skiing. And that's where your money goes. But especially in New York, and especially for my life, we like spending money on food and restaurants. So the pricing is just different in our heads. And two, it's like, I say this all the time, people judge me for how much money I spend on stuff. It's like, if I audited the way you spend money, I'm sure I could find something that I find stupid that you spend money on. But I'm not going to judge you, because who cares? We spend money on things that make us happy. Buying things makes us happy. And if it's a $14 falafel makes you happy, okay. If that falafel was $150 because of some reason, then that's part of the story, and I might have to question why. That's 400, whatever it is. A good example, I was at Momoya, and I did a video at Momoya a few months ago. The crispy rice. I love the crispy rice. And they had a beer on the menu that was $600. I remember sitting there being like, what the fuck? how is this beer $600? I wasn't going to buy one to find out, but I was like, why? And I did a dinner there this past week with Seamless. And the owner was chatting with us. He's like, oh, thank you for coming, blah, blah, blah. He's very, very sweet. And I had to ask him, like, why is this beer $600? And he gave me the whole reason, blah, 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 blah. But it's like aged in something and this. And I was like, all right, whatever. But like, again, that's the story then. Why is this $600? Is it really worth it? That's the story. If that beer was $6 or $24, sure, $24 is more expensive than a $6 beer. But like, to me, that's not an interesting conversation. And again, just burns on bad occasion. So I hope this answers why I don't talk about prices. I know I'm still going to get comments about it every single day. And I will try and do it here and there. And in the guides, I've been trying to write prices. Like in the burger guide, I write the price. Because I think when you're ranking 100 different burgers against each other, it's helpful to have prices, you know? But my philosophy will not change. I mean, maybe it does. My things change all the time. But for now, my philosophy won't change, which is I will not discuss prices unless it's part of the story. Rant over. And finally, this week, let's talk about what I'm into. And season 1 of The English Teacher, I spoke about whatever I did a year ago on this podcast. And season 2 dropped last week. And I loved it. I loved it so much. It's my kind of deep, dark humor. And it's a really beautiful story too, and really deep and dark and very funny, which I find most FX shows to be. And yeah, I wish I could like, go on. It's like sometimes it's hard for me to like wrap my brain around these things without just giving you like a boo, 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 which you don't find super interesting. I think that like it's like 10 episodes. I binged it in a day. Season 1, I think it's 10 episodes too. You guys could get through this show in like a few days. But it's like subversive and funny. And I was crying laughing. How do I even set this? How do I even just like the reviewing comedies is hard too. Cause like, what do you just retell the jokes? But there's an episode where like this military guy is at the school trying to recruit people. And he gives them like AR goggles to like experience what it's like being a soldier. So the assumption is you're like, oh, on the battleground, like whatever, like going through war. But no, it's literally you like being able to board the airplane first. And they go on and on with it. And it's the funniest joke of the whole season. I can't stop laughing at it. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Go watch that. And then also Adam Pally, who I'm lucky enough to call a friend. He's one of my favorite actors, musicians, podcasters, celebrities. He's going to be on a future episode of What Is Your Bagel Order? His special and intimate session with Adam Pally dropped on HBO Max. I always want to say Go. Max dropped this week too. It's recorded at a live show I was at with him, I think like 2 years ago at this point. You get a little taste of his live shows, which I absolutely love. They're hilarious and funny and weird. The whole thing is very weird and also subversive. His special goes a couple layers deeper too. I think he's just one of the most fascinating people. He's one of the kindest, nicest people too, and absolutely one of the funniest people. So you should definitely go check that out also. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. I love you. Follow, subscribe, leave the 5-star review, comment below. Let me know what you're thinking, and I will see you soon. Bye.